Hello, I'm Ian, and this is Somerset News Network. What a day in Israel! Donald Trump is visiting Israel, and he's going to give a speech to the Israeli Parliament in Jerusalem. I think it's quite an historic day. He's managed to achieve what other people haven't for years. We've had Obama, Clinton's, Biden, we've had Tony Blair, we've had Boris, now we've got Starmer. None of them solved the problem. Trump comes along and says, I'm going to create peace. And I think it's the force of will. One of the American commentators that's close to the White House said that Trump told Israel, Netanyahu, if you don't agree the peace deal, we will stop American aid. And when Trump was talking to Hamas, he told them, if you don't sign the peace deal, I'm going to let Israel off the leash. They signed. The 20 hostages that were alive have been released. Oh, thank God for that. Now, I think Trump's got a team there. He's got a Middle East negotiator, he's got Huckabee, he's got his son-in-law, who is Jewish, and they're all working together as a team with the Israelis to get this peace deal done. Now, they've set up a committee, and Trump is going to chair it. Trump has announced that Tony Blair, our Tony Blair, is going to be on that committee. I think it's to keep him close. Hamas have rejected Tony Blair. Now, I don't know if that's going to do any good or not. But Hamas don't want him anywhere near it. The commentator said that Marco Rubio said that Starmer's recognising Palestine before the peace deal had been done had almost scuppered the peace deal. I wonder if that's what it was for. I don't think Starmer could care if there was peace there or not. I think it's just so he can have a go at Trump, to make Trump fail. You know, Trump's a big boy now. You know, he's not a politician. He's a builder. He builds skyscrapers and golf courses. He has to work with people, builders and engineers, to make these things work. He's not a politician. And that's why I think it has worked. Pure common sense, we're going to create peace and this is how we're going to do it. You know, Starmer tried to take the credit Monday, Tuesday. Not this week, last week. Starmer tried to take the credit. And Marco Rubio came out, according to my sources in the States. The commentator said that Marco Rubio said that what Starmer did, recognising Palestine, almost scuppered the peace deal. Now this says it all. Starmer is an embarrassment to this country. He's a laughingstock on the world stage. People don't like him. Trump doesn't trust him. I think Starmer, there's sort of rumours and then it stopped. Early this morning, there was a rumour that Starmer was trying to get into the peace talks. And he was told that he hasn't been invited and he's not coming in. Now, I don't know how true that is. But he ain't been nowhere to be seen. So I think there's an element of truth in that. Now, one thing I've noticed, I was been watching the news since about 5 o'clock this morning when I woke up, is they're in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and they're in Gaza, and they got live feeds. One thing I noticed is in Tel Aviv, where they've got Hostage Square, that's what it's now called, they had males and females, and people that have been hostages, and family that are still hostages there, celebrating the hostages coming out. And they got together, and it's all male and female. Then they flip to Gaza, and it's all male. There's not a female to be seen anywhere. Isn't that striking? I can't understand how these students can support the Palestine Action Group and Hamas. Because if they were under Hamas rule, they wouldn't have been allowed out the house. And if they did go out the house, they'd have to go out with their husbands and walk behind them. They would have to cover up and put a burqa on. Do these women that are on these marches understand the tyranny that females are under in Gaza? Would they want it to happen to them here? No. So why are they supporting Hamas and Palestine Action? It's just unbelievable. And they say, oh, it's the Socialist Workers' Party that's supporting the Palestine Action. Well, Palestine Action has been deemed a terrorist organisation. And the Workers' Socialist Party agrees with DEI, transgenderism, LGBTQ. That don't happen in Gaza, I can tell you that for free. Even if it's not Hamas, the Muslims there wouldn't allow it. They throw gays off the top of buildings. So why are they supporting them? I just don't get it. You know, you support one group on one hand and then support the enemy on the other against your lifestyles. Anyway, this is a little clip. I've put in the clips on here of Tel Aviv with the mixed couples, and I've put a clip on here in Gaza with all the men. And this is just a little bit of the politicians and Trump talking in the Israeli parliament. I'll put the main part of Trump's speech on as a separate video on its own, because it's about an hour long. So I might have to edit it a bit and cut it down and cut bits out. But Trump was just Trump. Trump has been nominated for the highest civilian honour in Israel, which is quite a thing, really. So anyway, enough said. I'll put these clips on the end so you can watch them, and the whole, or as much, of Trump's speech to the Israeli parliament I'll put on as a whole video on its own at a later date. It's taking time to download off my phone, so it's going to take time to upload, which I think is going to be about 2 hours at the moment with this 4K. So I might even try and downgrade it so it goes a bit quicker. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Network, saying bye-bye for now.
Today, with the indispensable help, the determined and focused help, the unremitting help of President Trump and his team, and with the incredible sacrifice and courage of the soldiers of Israel, we are fulfilling that promise. It has been a long journey to get here. In the first week of the war, our brave soldiers put military pressure on Hamas, and the international community put diplomatic pressure on them. This enabled us to secure the release of over 100 hostages. In heroic rescue attempts behind enemy lines, Israel's special forces rescued 8 live hostages and brought back the remains of dozens more. But as time went on, we all know what happened. The diplomatic pressure was turned on its head. More and more governments May God bless you and your family, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. And may God bless the covenant between our two promised lands. Thank you, Mr. President.
But there are people that can negotiate pretty well. But most importantly with Steve, he's just a great guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody. I mean, I know some negotiators that are so good, but you wouldn't have had peace in the Middle East. You would be in World War III right now with some of these guys. Everybody loves Steve, and they respect him, and they somehow can relate to him. I've known him for many years, and I've seen it over and over again.
להוציא את חבר הכנסת כסיף מהאולם. להוציא אותו מיד.
Huge disturbance in the Knesset right now. Breaking news. It looks like a protester charged towards the US president. That protester has been bundled out of the Knesset as we speak. Donald Trump standing firm, staying at the podium. Let's listen in.
That was very efficient. So back to Steve. He's I tell one story because he was so involved, and then we called in Jared. We need that brain on occasion. We got to get Jared in here. We got to get a certain group of people. But Steve started this all by himself. I call him Henry Kissinger, who doesn't leak. Okay? Henry is a big leaker. He leaked. Easily settled. I thought it was a hell of a lot easier than doing what we just did very successfully with Israel and a lot of other people, but this came first, and we'll get that one. But I set up a meeting for him to meet with President Putin, thinking it would be a 15 or a 20-minute meeting. Steve had no idea about Russia, had no idea about Putin too much, didn't know too much about politics, wasn't that interested. He was really good at real estate, but he had that quality that I was looking for, and I didn't see it around in too many ways. And I set up the meeting with Putin, and I called. I said, is Steve finished yet? That was about a half an hour into the meeting. No, sir, he's not. He's still inside. This is in Moscow. I said, well, how's he doing? I don't know, sir. He's still inside. I called up an hour later. Let me speak to Steve. Sir, he's still with Putin. He's with President Putin. I said, wow, it's a long meeting, 1 hour. I called up an hour later, he was still with Putin. 3 hours later, he was still with Putin. 4 hours later, he started to get the word that he was going to be coming out soon. And in 5 hours, he came out. I said, what the hell were you talking about for 5 hours? And he says, just a lot of interesting things. We're talking about a lot of interesting things, including what he went in there for, but you can't talk about it for 5. You can talk about it for a certain period of time. You know what you're getting. But that's a talent. That's a talent where you can do that. Most people I'd send in, number one, they wouldn't be accepted. Number two, if they were, the meeting would last 5 minutes. And that's what happens with Steve. Everybody loves him. They love him on this side. They love him on the other side. And he really is. He's a great negotiator because he's a great guy. So thank you very much, Steve. Very much. And I have a prediction that Marco will go down, I mean this, as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the United States. I believe that. I believe that. And he and I, we really fought it out. You remember, he was tough. He was nasty. Who the hell thought this was going to happen, Marco, right? And now I'm saying he's going to go down as the greatest. He will. He was always smart and sharp, and people respect him. And then we have somebody who's young, but an unbelievable leader. I saw it a long time ago, and he's turned out to be even better than we thought, right, Susie? I think even better. And that's Pete Hegseth, who is our Secretary of War, formerly Secretary of Defense. I love Israel. I'm with you all the way. You will be bigger, better, stronger, and more loving than ever before. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the Middle East. Thank you, everybody. Good luck. Thank you very much.